Welcome back to Incremental, the continuous improvement podcast. This is our practice edition where we look at improvements from the week and the lean principles behind them. I am Uriel Eisen.
And I am Devin Bedoni.
And quote,
"You can do it right, or you can do it right now."
And that, I don't know who that's attributed to. You heard it from your friend.
I heard it from my friend Mike, who's a master of
quippy quotes,
quippy comments, and like his nicknaming capacity out of this world.
On point. Maybe he should be our first guest.
Just come on, give us each a nickname and mic
And
drop
leave.
and leave. Be great. He might listen to this at some point too. So
Nice.
Hi Mike, if you ever hear this.
Excellent. Yeah, so I have one that falls into that category from this week of
It also really harkens back to last episode discussion of like balancing thinking through stuff versus just trying to do it. I'm not sure this is actually very encouraging that you can do it right or you can do it right now, because that's sort of stating that like
you won't do it right.
you won't do it right.
Yeah, I think that everyone needs to get that through their head.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people put things off because it's not going to be perfect, and the fact is it will never be perfect. So don't wait.
Yeah. But also maybe wait a little bit.
Think about where you're going. Simultaneously, don't wait at all.
Yeah. Right.
Do wait a lot. No. We've been 3D printing our gripper fingers
Yeah.
for our automation on our CNC mill, which has been huge, even though the plastic is crappy and is falling apart regularly.
Yeah.
We finally Kanbaned them, I think, last week, which we talked about.
Interrupting you. Do you have it on a schedule to replace them now, or do you wait till you see issues?
Right now, we're waiting till we see issues.
Yeah.
And then we have a backup set right there
Yeah.
to replace them. A schedule is an interesting thought. We're playing with different plastics. So we just did some in PETG, which I have high hopes for after reading like chemical resistance, etc.
Yeah.
We'll see if that helps. But the little 6mm bushing
Yeah.
that locates them on
Yeah.
the gripper, the bore from that was modeled as 6mm or slightly over, for a slip fit. But then I'm printing it horizontally, and so the top of that hole, the top and bottom of those holes, with the layering of 3D printing, the hole ends up being an undersized oval.
Yeah.
And so for the past few months, we just take each print and then I pull out my pocket knife and I sort of whittle away at them a little bit. It's very
I've
simple.
drilled them just with a hand drill.
Okay.
And it worked pretty well.
Gotcha. So I modified the model so that it's a diamond, because I decided locating in the direction of the force is more critical than side to side. And it's still a press fit. It's just actually you can press and it does fit.
Oh, cool. Without any mod.
Without any post mod.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was one of those, I'm just going to do this as I was modeling it and not working on the new product we're trying to release. I was like, I don't know if this is the move here.
God damn it.
Everything just takes so much time. It's crazy. It's like I have a whole list at the beginning of the day and then it's the end of the day. And,
I really feel you there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yesterday at our morning meeting, I was like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I feel like I'm just doing a bad job right now. And they were like, what? You're doing great. And I'm like, nah, I don't think so. And they're like, well, we could slow down if you want. And I was like, no.
Also, no. That's funny.
Well, I like that. That's such a simple improvement.
Yeah. So now I want to figure out how to propagate it more easily across all of them. Obviously, now that I know what the solution is, that makes it easier.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to build it into some template somewhere so that it always just gets modeled in automatically.
Yeah.
So I'll have to think about where that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, working on that and then just thinking through how to make this we're Kanbaning all 3D printed components in the shop.
Yeah.
Thinking about how we then pull up those prints, whether that's right now I'm sort of thinking you click into the file tree in the computer, scan a QR code or a barcode that is the full destination that will point you to a current folder that contains the current file for that object, is my thought.
This is the current 3D print file or the actual model file?
This would just be something you could send to the 3D printer.
Yeah. This would be you probably don't want one more platform, but this would be a very simple Airtable thing. Extremely easy to update and keep current.
That's not my concern. The concern is sort of from holding a piece of paper in your hand that is the Kanban. How do you walk up to a computer and get it to print your file with as little messing around as possible?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like built-in QR codes and stuff, you could just...
That brings you to the right file.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I see.
Like without having to deal with a file tree or anything.
I see.
Yeah.
So I guess the step I would be eliminating would be let's see. Oh, so the other thing I don't want to do is have to download it every time to print.
Oh.
Because I could do the same functionality, I think, just with Dropbox, which is what I'm currently using. But I was thinking about that, and I think I would end up having to sort of download it every time, which would be a bummer.
Yeah.
So I was sort of trying to figure out. And maybe this function... we just got the Bamboo printer in.
Yeah.
Which has been really very awesome.
Is it running? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've been printing a bunch of stuff.
Cool.
And it's very nice. The automatic spool changer is a game changer.
Yeah.
It just works. So I actually changed the color.
Amazing.
I mean, I have to say, looking at that printer next to other printers that are the same price, it is in a different league.
No contest.
Yeah. I mean, like a bunch of the designers worked on DJI, I guess, or the founders, which I think DJI did a similar thing to the drone world. Like before that, there were a lot of sort of like DIY plus products out there that were very refined and took a huge amount of work and were a huge amount of engineering and obviously a big project. But then if you just throw like an order of magnitude more engineering and actually commit to like doing big injection molded tooling, you can just like, it's a step function.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've sort of been working on that, figuring out what best to do there. I would love if that printer could scan QR codes, and they use QR codes heavily in the interface. Like it will pull up an error and it will say scan this QR code on the screen to go to a video of how to do this maintenance, stuff like that. So it would be super sweet if you could build a QR code library, or if it made one in its file tree, would be so cool.
Right, like it's already networked. You got to wonder if there's a way you could go directly from Dropbox, Airtable, something like that.
Yeah.
To it.
Yeah, or just, I mean, if it was already on the machine, also you could walk up to the machine and scan a QR code.
Also, Dropbox has like a file folder functionality. So you probably wouldn't have to download it. You'd probably be able to just drag and drop.
That's a good point. I was thinking the QR code would bring you to the Dropbox folder on a web browser, not on your computer. Maybe there's a way, write in if anyone knows a way to scan a QR code and have it launch like your file system.
Yeah.
And then go to a particular location. The best approximation I can come up with is clicking into the file system, going to the, where you'd input a full, I don't know what the correct term, but the routing to get to a particular file.
Yeah.
It's like user, whatever, files.
Yeah,
all that. And then a QR code can just contain text, and then it would input that full direct, address.
Like you'd copy and paste the address?
No, you just click into that cell and scan it with a QR code scanner on the computer, and it would just write it out in there.
Gotcha.
And then hit search. Enter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh. That seems like a lot of workarounds to avoid downloading.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's got to be a better way than either one of these. I don't know. Yeah, you're saying scan it. It takes you to Dropbox or whatever hosting.
Yeah.
Then you just download it and drag it. I don't know if I want to wait for the download. Does it really seem like hard to just open up a file?
I'm not sure.
Click into a cell, scan, hit enter, and then you have your file and you can drag that into... I mean, it's annoying. It's definitely annoying. I would love to just be... Like, I sort of wish they built a file manager into their slicer program. Kind of, you know?
The Bamboo.
Know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or we could walk up to the machine
so that you could
and
drag and drop into their manager on your desktop, kind of a thing.
Or just open their program. If you have a Kanban for a 3D printed part, open their program, scan a thing, or even better, walk up to the CNC, scan a thing, and it retrieves it from the cloud.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. We'll find a way.
I'm sure.
Write in with your ideas.
Yeah, give it a few years. It will exist. Probably.
Incremental CI on Instagram.
Better yet, send finished code.
True.
We had kind of like I said, I feel like I've been kind of behind on things. So sort of another light week on improvements, but a couple little ones. We had a part that had a very small ID groove that we had to inspect.
Okay.
Not super tight tolerance, plus or minus 2 thou.
Mm-hmm.
Tight enough that you need to measure.
Right.
For sure. And I was like, how are we going to do that? We didn't have a ID groove mic. I didn't want to buy one micrometer for that job. They're very expensive, relatively speaking. And it occurred to me that, so with a digital height gauge, you usually use a sphere or sometimes a disc. Yeah. And technically you want the disc to be a section of a sphere so that it only contacts one point.
That makes sense.
But all that really matters is that it's actually round. It doesn't even necessarily need to be concentric to the shaft it's attached to.
Sure.
Because the digital height gauge is not that smart, right? It's just measuring in a single axis. So I was like, well, our lathe isn't amazing, but it does make circles, I'm pretty sure. So I had Quorum make a custom little disc stylus for us to be able to measure that groove.
Very cool.
And it worked.
That's awesome.
Which was great. Saved a lot of money.
Wow.
And now we have a cool little ID groove stylus for the height gauge.
And the absolute dimension of all of that is really not important.
Doesn't matter in the slightest.
Yeah.
Aside from
like a spherical outside would be nice, but also in that range. Not essential.
Not essential. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, you calibrate it on a known master and it inputs its dimension. So it can be good to know what the size is so you can compare and be like, does that make sense?
Right.
But you can also just measure it with a for this level of precision, you can measure the stylus with a micrometer, make sure that the calibrated dimension matches.
Yeah. And typically just rule of thumb for metrology is you want to be able to measure 10x your resolution or the decimals you care about. So you're beyond that, I think. Thousandths.
Yeah, it measures in tenths. Yeah. I mean, it repeats to 2 tenths.
Okay. Yeah. So,
and then to qualify it, we just keep a gauge block there for like a linear measurement, and then we have a a ring gauge that we'll just test on for bores before we do any bores. And it was measuring, that stylus was measuring within 200 thousandths of the ring gauge. I was like, well, temperature in our shop could cause that much variation easily, so pretty confident in it.
Interesting. I just talked to had a great conversation with the head of product at a big climbing gear company, or I guess he's the ex-head of product,
right?
Which is why he was talking to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't usually get them when they're active.
Yeah. And it was interesting hearing you say that. He was talking about ISO 9000.
Yeah.
Which I've heard other people talk about it. I think it was the guy from Pro Shop. Bringing back two episodes.
I have a friend who's just going through the process right now.
Very cool.
Actually, I think he just got stamped. And It's funny because like I always think about it in terms of manufacturing, machining, whatever. And I was like walking into my house the other day and I looked over and there was like a big, like a 1 gallon olive oil cone or can. And I looked on the side and it was like ISO 9000. And I was like, oh, well, I guess it applies to everything. Any goods you could buy, like there's quality standards.
And the funny thing is, it's really just a question of, do you have standards for every single thing in your facility?
Yeah.
And then are you following those standards?
Yeah.
And I guess the mistake people often make is writing very complicated standards.
Yeah.
Instead of just documenting literally what you're doing now.
Yeah.
And then making sure
you continue to
do it or update the standard. And that goes down to like pretty granular stuff. Like every single person in your facility, there's a procedure for why they're there.
Right.
They're employed, they're a guest, whatever it is,
mm-hmm.
they need to be documented.
Right.
And whatever. So like it does change things, but it doesn't have to change as much as you necessarily think. But I was just thinking about your measurement process. Do you have a process for it's been on my mind lately with trying to get to load rated equipment or looking at how we might do that.
Yeah.
Like where all that stuff gets logged, the calibration, who calibrates when. Is that something you guys have done or?
Nope.
Yeah.
I had to fill out a very embarrassing questionnaire the other day for a new client. That was basically about all of this stuff.
Gotcha.
Like, do you have this? No. Do you have this? No. Do you have this?
Yeah.
No. That being said, like I have good confidence in our work. And like you're just saying, like we do a lot of those things.
Right.
They're just not documented.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is like none of this is free. So like I think the other
like
it's all time. So like even though you say no to all those things, they might be like, great, that's fine. Like we don't need any of that for this current project.
Yeah. They did have follow-up questions, but this particular client.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, if your customer, and that's kind of what I was like, hey, we do mostly like outdoor sports stuff. No one demands this and they don't want to pay for it. Right. So that's why we don't do it. We're happy to do some of this stuff for you or like document our procedure. But yeah, it's just like, don't do extra work.
Yeah.
You're not getting paid for it, basically.
Yeah. I really want to get better at making and working from SOPs in our shop. Like we have started documenting a lot of processes, but we don't always reference those documents.
Yeah.
Which feels really pointless when you documented it yesterday and you're like, let me work off the thing I just wrote down. Feels kind of weird and like a waste. But I think building that practice and building that, I don't know if culture is quite the word because it's kind of mechanistic. It's just literally how we do work. Anyway,
I have been calling it an SOP thing is a little bit of a, like there are SOPs in there, but we're also using it as just a general reference. It's built in Airtable. So like we have a section for machine maintenance, like common maintenance tasks. Like I built one for CAM programming reference where it's like, I'm always going to look for that, like, metric fine pitch STI tap drill chart. Right. And it's like, it always takes me a few minutes to find it on the internet. Like finally just like downloaded it and uploaded it to this thing. It's like, very nice. Here's your tap drill thing. And then some of the things that like you don't do that often, like calibrating your tool setter, calibrating your probe, and having them there has been amazing.
Yeah. It's funny. It's almost like if you do a thing every single day, it feels almost more pointless to have an SOP.
Yeah.
It's not, turns out, but it feels that way.
Yeah. But everybody should just go and start doing it right now. Searching through email is so obnoxious.
Yeah. Yeah, my issue currently, I mean, it sounds like Airtable has sort of solved this for you, is like having, we talked about this, like a single source of truth, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what platform is this on?
Uh-huh.
Is it on Google Drive? Is it on my computer file system? There's just like three, and then instead of searching through emails, you're searching through which one is it?
Right.
So like having a go-to become a standard. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few things about Airtable that I'm kind of like, come on, guys. But for the most part, it's like it's more than an 80% solution. It's like a 98% solution.
I don't know enough about this, but I just yesterday had a call with a buddy of mine for like an hour and a half where he walked me through. He built a CRM in Coda, which is a lot like Airtable, but has some interesting functionalities. It is built more around building automation in workflows. So like you can easily make buttons that do things.
Yeah.
And so it sort of does, it is a relational database, but it's a relational database, which is kind of interesting. I'm sure you can do, I would guess you can do most of the things you can do in Coda that you can do in Airtable.
Maybe not quite as slick.
I think, yeah. It seemed pretty interesting, so I'm going to do a little more digging on that. My brother has done a bunch of messing around with Airtable. By no means an expert, but like run into like functionality gaps of like, okay, you can't quite do that. You can, there's sort of a workaround here, and you can do it, sort of.
Yeah.
And this seems to have maybe fewer of those, but again, I really don't know what I'm talking about. But exploring it before I kind of dive into one.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Did you A3 that?
Not yet. Hopefully I will. Let's see. Oh yeah, we improved our improvement board.
Ooh.
So we've been talking about it for a while. It's just sort of ranking things.
Yeah.
And so we did a 2-axis. I mean, it was a 2x2. What's it called?
Right.
Thingamajiggy.
Grid.
Table.
Matrix. Yeah.
But we made it more of a gradient now. But basically cost on one axis and impact on the other axis. And then you just kind of place your idea or your problem.
So each one of you has a matrix?
No, there's just a big one up on the wall. And whenever we write things, we throw them up there. And then we just did this yesterday. So very new. But already it's kind of like, okay, look at this top right corner, and then sort of like approach things on a diagonal gradient down to the left, where all the way down at the left is low impact, high cost, which you shouldn't do. Come up with more.
Is there a lot of stuff in that corner?
There's some.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, it'd be nice to have whatever it is, right? Like a new computer here, like a powerful new computer that's a few $1,000s, and for making a label would probably
right.
I don't know why you do that, but right, like every now and then there's some that are
right.
You're and like,
we want this. It is a high cost just inherently.
Yeah, we don't really need it. Yeah. And you'd use it once a month or twice a year.
I like it.
Yeah, so that was nice, and then we started circling ones. Like
so again, it's impact across one axis. So high impact, low impact, high cost, low cost.
Yeah, and cost is money and time, kind of. All rolled into one. It's
so
very subjective.
High impact and low cost are at one corner.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so, yeah, kind of handy. And then we're going to implement more color coding. We started tagging things that are like 15 minutes or less for just like weird gaps in your day.
Yeah.
Or like you need a break or, just. And then I think also I think we're going to do one that is around like super like things that you just need to buy a thing, right? It's just like, okay, at some point we just need to go do a little shopping.
Yep. I like that idea. I will probably copy you.
Please. Yeah, so that's been pretty good. And then it's also, I mean, it's super subjective, but definitely makes you think in a good way about placing it, right? And you start reading the ones around it and going like, oh, like it doesn't feel, I don't know. There's issues with it. Like building a loft does not feel the same as like a better holder for our Kanban cards. Like,
right.
But you're placing them on the same graph. And so it's a little weird in that way.
I guess that's where the color coding for time investment comes in.
Yeah. The other issue is like if something is very high cost, but also very high impact, like it starts being one of those things of like, it's very high. This other thing then is very, very high. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like
totally
stuff starts, and it's all relative. So it, has room for improvement, I think, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. And I think that kind of comes back to that, like the itch to like, completely like subdivide your subdivided folders into like all the categories. And at some point you just got to be able to like look at the things and make a quick comparison in your head and be like, we have time for this today. We don't have time for this today. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Or
and like maybe
this one's annoying right now. Let's do this.
Maybe we'll make another color designation that's like big projects. Yeah. Right. Like this is a month. This is 2 months, like rather than like this is 5 days or of your 1 hour of improvements. Yeah. So we'll figure it out. But that was a nice improvement.
Cool. Very small one that we did. We have workstations at each machine. They are like a plywood kind of bench, and underneath the bench is like sheet pan slide in areas where we put all our whip and stock. And then above the bench is a smaller like desktop where we have a computer. And we've found that the calipers, like we have a designated tray that's kind of at the top of the sheet pan rack. That's for like deburr and inspection stuff. Okay. And then we have another one next to it that's for QC, where we put parts before we check them and put them in with all the finished parts. Anyway, we found that the calipers, digital calipers, and Sharpie are just like always floating on the bench. Okay. Or just like looking for a place to live. They almost never get put back on that tray. And it's annoying. And then the Sharpie walks away, et cetera, et cetera. So Quorum designed and 3D printed a little holder that goes on the top that's just like a hole for a Sharpie to stand vertically. And then it's got a little like relief for the end of a 6-inch caliper. So the caliper stands upright. And so it's kind of out of the way. Nice. Yeah, it's pretty easy. Nice. He made several of them. And we like looked online, and there were a bunch of more like a holster style for calipers that like the upper part hangs on. Okay. But we were kind of like walking around being like, where do we stick this? Like on the side of something. Like it could have gone maybe magneted on the machine or something. Right. But there wasn't a great opportunity. Nice. So we went with this design, and so far it's working pretty well. That's cool. So I'm realizing we've failed so far at discussing what we noticed and what lean principles apply. So in this case, that's sort of like hunting around for things. Yeah. Would probably be the main one it's fixing. Yeah. What would it? What would be the waste of like having things out of place or like general chaos? We're trying to eliminate general chaos. That's the ninth lean waste. It's actually it's waste the 0. First, yeah. That's I think maybe more it. Yeah, I mean, it leads to everything. It's like ambiguous. Mm-hmm. You end up driving up rejects. You drop your calipers. You go looking around for things. A lot of waiting if you're looking for stuff. Wasted human potential. Yeah. Yeah. We also have our Sharpies oriented vertically. Do you have the tip down or the tip up? We have the tip up. Quorum had the idea of actually making the 3D print become the cap. Ooh, I love that. We weren't sure if it would be a tight enough fit to keep it from like drying out, but it might be worth it. Only one way to find out. A V2. Yeah. What if you just 3D print and then glue the current cap in? Oh, that's a good idea. And then that cap just stays in there forever. Mm-hmm. I like that.
All right. New product.
G1.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was the lean waste you were solving with your printer, your new printer?
The new printer, yeah, I guess like all the SMED stuff applies. I think it's like, let's see, I don't know. There's something about convenience. When something becomes so convenient, you just do it.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what lean waste that is solving. Maybe it's just a psychological thing. But like SMED, like I don't need to go to the printer, start heating up the filament, waiting there while it heats up to change what plastic I'm using to print.
Yeah.
So the fact that you don't have to do that makes a really big difference. So maybe it's eliminating primarily waiting for the like if the printer heated instantaneously, it probably wouldn't be that annoying.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to walk over, you say, I want to unload the current filament. It warms up. Then
I think that kind of goes under overprocessing.
What are you overprocessing?
Like the whole process. There's just like way more going on there that requires your attention and active like engagement than necessary.
Yeah, and then you're picking up spools and moving them and reorganizing your spools and finding the right one and putting it on the machine.
Yeah.
Which could be solved in other ways besides spending a few $1,000s on a new printer. So maybe that's not exactly it. Anyway, there's like SMED.
Defect. It's quality too.
Yeah. And then the other is waiting on prototypes. So this thing is like 2 to 4 times faster.
Yeah.
And I was sort of thinking about this yesterday when I wrote this down. There's a bit of a question in my mind around like if a process is idle a lot, then it is probably wrong to say that faster is like, it's tempting to buy fast machines. I was kind of trying to think, is there a scenario where I could have achieved the same thing with a slower machine? But the issue is that you kind of want to test your current design.
Yeah.
And so the only way I could come up with is running 2 designs in parallel. Right? So like you're working on one, 3D printing that, and while you're 3D printing project A,
yeah,
even if they're 2 like variants of the same product, like 2 branches or something.
The way a slow machine works requires that you have a lot of foresight or like lead a lot of vision into what you are going to need to be making, which prototyping is not that. You need to come up with a thing and then find out immediately if it works or not.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of, I don't know, there's merit to both. There's merit to not immediately going like, we need a faster machine.
Yeah.
But then also, if it was instantaneous, that would be hugely powerful in terms of single piece flow. So like something about like the mental focus of working on one project and only one project, and then having all the thoughts about like flip-flopping back and forth every 20 to 40 minutes feels hard. Like, yeah, whether that's, even if they're 2 variants of the same product.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, so that's been big. So like yesterday I got through like 5 iterations where normally I could only do like 2. Granted, cool. I also was in the shop till 12:30, so that also might have been something to do with that.
Not PM.
Yeah. So,
and the improvements of your improvement board.
Yeah,
that seems like an overprocessing thing. Like you were having to overprocess
to kind of keep reading all of them to decide what to do next. Yeah. I think was overprocessing. Maybe that's the main one. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, you could, no, I was going to say defects by like doing the wrong improvement, but that's not really a defect. That would be like a
wasted human potential.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, it's probably overprocessing of the data. Now, the alien wastes that's not it, right? That's not the full picture, which is why there's books beyond just like, here are the 8 lean wastes, and that's the QED.
Right.
Like, yeah. So I think like you are eliminating, these are the wastes that they identified, but there's other systems at play, other things going on.
Yeah, 100%.
Besides an accumulation of these 8 things.
Kind of like we talked about it, about having to like keep all this stuff in context and place it in the context of your own system and not become dogmatic, is like, and we've talked about this in the past, of like coming up with your own wastes. Like, I do suspect over the years we will generate our own lists of being like, this is what they had, and these are really the ones that we focus on.
Yeah, and even if that's just a different word that means the same thing to you, but better for you, like, I don't know. It's not they don't have ultimate authority on being lean. They are the best at it. Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe not. Yeah, but either way, they're quite good at it. So it is worth looking at their work, cheating off of their test. No.
Nice. This actually was a few weeks back, but I forgot to mention it. I ordered parts for a flip station.
Yep.
So
very cool.
I've not made it. In fact, I haven't made any of the new automation parts for the new trunnion system.
What have you been doing? Just sitting around.
Yeah. Just twiddling my thumbs.
Yep.
Sometimes I wonder. But I actually have to do that very shortly, because a repeat automation job.
That's awesome.
Is tomorrow.
Whoa, very shortly.
Very shortly. It will be the job won't be late, but
the
machine will probably be idle for a minute. Actually, probably be making the parts for the automation.
Nice.
But phase 2 will be adding the flip station, which I'm pretty excited about.
That. Yeah. It's big.
It'll be
the
big.
First time I flipped a part, it was a big deal. I was like, oh my God.
Did you whoop?
I did. I jumped around. I was like way more excited than I anticipated being, because of course you're
you
thought thinking about it for months. Yeah, exactly. And then it does it and you're like, what? That's it? It does it. Yeah. Very cool.
It's pretty amazing when things just kind of work and you're like,
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's so good. So good.
So lean waste there would be overprocessing that we will be hoping to solve.
Of moving parts to flip them.
Extra handling.
Yeah, extra handling, waiting on the part, on the batch.
Right.
You're waiting. All the parts are waiting to be processed to reach the next process. And then downstream processes are waiting to have parts to become non-idle. Defects. Definitely decreases defect, because instead of making 40 defects, you make 1 defect. So that's big.
Yep.
Transportation, not so much. It increases wasted motion because, well, not massively.
Not really.
Yeah, you're right. A pallet to single piece flow increases wasted motion of the machine.
Yes.
Doing more tool changes, but system wide, it is a benefit.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, I'm trying to add captive screw tabs as an improvement to the 3D printed gripper fingers, and then just have the screws live in there.
So you print them in?
So I just print in a little barb on the inside of the bore, and then you just press the screw past the barb, and then it can't fall out.
Oh, that kind of captive.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that will be pretty nice.
I've not like, I thought you meant like print it in place.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah. No, you'll just press fit it in, and then it will live in there, because sometimes they fall out and then you're searching around for them.
Yeah.
And so I was just going to place the barb such that the screw can be fully retracted, essentially, from its threaded hole, but not fall out. So that would be wasted motion when a screw falls. Is that a defect? It's a defect in the process, right? Like, you don't plan for that in your process of like searching for a screw.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wasted human potential for sure. I would say that's the one I noticed the most walking around the shop. It's just like, sometimes you don't actually care about efficiency. You're just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to crawl around on the floor looking for a screw. This is solvable. So I think that is like a big one for me.
Yeah. This actually jogged my memory. And it kind of comes back to the like not overcomplicating your solutions. You haven't really worked on a turret lathe, but
no,
often changing inserts and stuff for one thing, the tools are sort of upside down.
Yeah.
So depending on where you choose to place it, that it can be in a perfect position to fall, the screw and the insert to fall. And down there below is the chip conveyor. It's a little bit of like it might as well have gone to space.
Sure.
And we've had some annoying times where we lost a screw and didn't have a spare for, the whole deal. So the other day, Ariel was like, she dropped one, but she found it. And she was like, I think we need to make something to like solve this. I was like, yeah, I think you're right. And then I was like, how about we just put a sheet pan here? Nice. And there's like the ways for the tailstock are basically like a little table, and a sheet pan like perfectly bridges across them the way cover. And like theoretically, if something fell on the back way cover, it wouldn't land on the sheet pan, but it would hopefully at least get wedged. But mostly what you'll be doing would be over the sheet pan. And I was like, well, and also you can put all the things, your screwdriver and your whatever right here while you're working. So you're not having to place it on top of the machine or like find a random bench. So I was pretty proud of that.
That's awesome. I would add a tether to that drapes through the door so you can't close the door with it in there.
I think it's too big.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Hate to hit cycle start with a sheet pan in there.
I think the sheet pan would just die.
Okay.
Maybe I would probably do some damage.
I mean, it wouldn't be great.
It would not be preferable. It's not ideal.
Here's one I'd love to get your thoughts on. Oh, so that would be the problem you noticed. Yeah, dropping a screw. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And nice solution in a standard something you already own and can replace. I was looking at color. So I was looking at like. I texted you yesterday about those markers.
The Molotov markers.
Yeah. They're not cheap.
How much are they? They're like $7 a piece?
Oh, maybe. Okay, no, I was looking at a different one. I was looking at like Markall, which I think is like a more industrial company.
Yeah.
And by more industrial, I'm not sure I mean better. I just mean more expensive.
Yeah.
Maybe. I haven't tested them head to head. But I was then looking for... You know those things for, I don't know what they're called. Write in if you know. A little piece of plastic with like a barbed little thing to press into holes, to fill holes. You see them on like sheet metal products sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like if those came in a bunch of colors, I could just 3D print holes in my parts and then you just press the correct color in. The closest I've found so far, which I think I'm going to order for general use, but they're a little smaller than I want, are a dental tool, silicone. They make color coding for dental tools. They're little silicone donuts that are color coded.
Little rings.
Yeah. And so I was thinking you could just print an slightly undersized ID bore that you press those into, and that would give you a little spot of color. What I like about that is I don't need to do a color change on the 3D printer when I'm making stuff. I can do it in anything. And then
you can repurpose if you need to.
Like it's just kind of, I just want like a universal, like I could drill holes in a different product and plug them in. Like it's just very easy. So anyway, I've been hunting around for little like press fit caps, and I don't really care what size they are. I mean, my stuff is all pretty small, so ideally it's pretty small. Because my previous idea was to sort of, instead of needing every single color to be on the 3D printer in every material I want to 3D, because some of the stuff I want to 3D print, like polycarbonate, doesn't really come in every color filament, and so anyway I need to colorize it. So one option is to use markers after the fact in a post process. I've been thinking about making the Kanban sort of be a work order, which it is, but just have full instructions on how to make the thing on it. So it's like 3D print this, add this color to these parts, right? It would just have like a call out or a little drawing.
Oh.
So you know what you're making. Yeah.
Sorry, I just did a search for the sheet metal plugs. Looks like they only come in black. But jogged my memory because something came up. For masking, for powder coating, they make silicone colored plugs. And they're like a little... They might not stay in super well, but...
Right. I did see those. I didn't see them in all the colors. Like, I saw the different colors were designated for the different sizes, but I mean, it's absolute. I know this exists, right? Something is out there under some name that's like, oh yeah, we use those all the time in I don't know what.
Right.
Anyway, so if you know of an option, please write in. And this is sort of improving the systems for improving things such that they're easier to do, and so they happen. Yeah, I think. And I feel like maybe this is like my ADD talking of like, I don't know. I'm always like, I'd rather spend an hour improving how a thing gets done than spend like 15 minutes doing it when I know I'm going to have to do it again and again. Yeah. And so you can always go a level out of like, and it's super cool what happens. Like you can do problem solving, but then you can also improve the system that you use to problem solve. Yeah. And then you can probably improve the system of improving how you problem solve. Anyway.
You could just 3D print a bunch of your own plugs.
It's an option. Yeah. That might be the best option.
Do that once and have like a bunch on hand.
Right. Yeah. I was even thinking like, I'm thinking about getting an injection molding machine.
Like a little baby one?
No.
A giant one?
I don't know. I don't know what to get. I think, anyway, not sure exactly if that's going to happen, but.
Not in your space, it's not.
I have some space.
They're pretty big.
I built that loft that was for another CNC.
They're pretty heavy. Oh, you built the loft so that the downstairs.
Yeah.
Have you been around many injection molding machines?
I mean, I know there's massive ones, but I think there's there's some shop tours. I mean, it's like the size of a CNC. It's like the footprint of an R450. I think it's like kind of long and skinny.
Yeah. I feel like they're often a little longer. Okay. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, probably depends on what you get.
Yeah.
I was also thinking like, I think Saunders has a bunch of colored plugs made for their fixture plates. Oh, so I was going to look at those. Those might work too.
They're probably kind of big, but.
They might be bigger than I want. Yeah. Because I think they have them injection molded in different colors. Lastly, I could just get them injection molded in different colors.
That's true.
But
what's the fun in that?
Do I want 10,000? No.
When you could buy an injection molder yourself.
Whenever anyone, I got into sewing. I joke, that I couldn't find a bag at a price I wanted to pay because they're like a nice bag is like $250 to $300. So instead, I spent a few $1,000s on sewing machines and like 5 years. Yeah.
I feel you.
That's how we roll.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else?
We need to come up with some kind of a term for that. That's just like the only way to live.
Yeah, that's funny.
DIY or die.
Something like that.
Yeah. Anyway, that got a little rambly there. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, I think that's all I got.
Yeah.
Thanks all for listening.
Yes, indeed.
We will see you again next week. You can find me at austere_manufacturing on Instagram.
You can find me at lichen_MFG.
And you can find the podcast at Incremental CI, also on Instagram. Love hearing from everyone. We get some really awesome emails and direct messages from people who know a lot more about various aspects of this stuff, or like someone sent a whole big thing on like a very clever naming convention system that lets you get unique identifiers without referencing like a database to know what your next serial number is. So just really interesting little details, super helpful, and we try to share on here and kind of all learn together and improve together. So
indeed.
That's all. See you guys next week.
Alrighty.